Hello and welcome to Just Hoops. The Portland Trailblazers have had a really good start to the season, and one thing that has stood out to me is their zone defense, which is top 5 in the NBA in terms of usage and stops. But first I want to reference the Blazers' hot start. They've had guys across the board performing at a really high level. Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard, along with Jeremy Grant, Justice Winslow, Nurkic, Josh Hart, along with the rookie Shannon Sharpe, have all been performing incredibly well, leading them to a 6-3 start to the NBA season. But this video is going to be about their zone defense. Let's look at some numbers real quick. So they have a defensive rating of 109.5, which is ranked in the top 12 at the moment, but their zone usage is 10.3%, which is second to Miami. Their point per possession while in the zone is 1.023. They hold teams to 43% from the field and 53% effective field goal percentage. To me, this zone has been crucial in their great start to the season, and now we're going to dive into the ins and outs of the zone through film. Some things I want to bring up before really diving into this zone defense is first, why use a zone? So zones make it really tough for offenses to get the looks that they want, forcing a lot of tough contested twos and also forcing a lot of contested threes. But in Portland's case, they have length and athleticism across the board from Jeremy Grant, Shannon Sharpe, Josh Hart, Justice Winslow. They're always on the floor, so it's easy for Chauncey Billups to put his guys in positions to be successful within a zone. But now to dive more into Portland's zone exactly. They have a 2-3 zone in which they run a non-traditional front and alignment. They like putting length and athleticism at the top of the zone, seen here with Shannon Sharpe and Jeremy Grant being at the top. And the backside is typically Nurkic or the big in the middle, and the wings are the other two perimeter players that aren't put at the top of the zone. We will dive into each level of the zone later in this video, but in terms of the alignment, they like having guys that can get up and pressure the ball, force turnovers, cause havoc with length and athleticism at the top. And then the wings are typically less skilled defenders where they can be smart off the ball, plug the paint, just be smart and doing their job as a team defender. And then the big floats the middle. He typically shadows the ball, but he does a really good job at just impacting the game in the paint. So let's dive into this top level of the zone with the two top guards of the 2-3. So we already talked about length and athleticism. You can see here that we have Justice Winslow and Shannon Sharpe at the top of the zone. Two really good athletes that can get up, activate the ball, but they play in tandem with each other. In terms of their role, they play midline and over to their side. The midline is where they stop, but there are situations where they need to help. Here was a great example of them going back and forth, playing off of each other, cutting off the nail, and also getting back to the ball. Here against Sacramento, we're going to see that same thing where they are responsible for everything above the break. The nail is their stop point, and they play to the strong side of the floor. Here, Jeremy Grant has to come over a little bit, but they play in tandem, and they're able to switch at the top, get a deflection, and force a turnover with that length and athleticism that we've brought up. So now we're going to talk more about the responsibilities outside of their tandem role. The tandem is a traditional thing, but here in this clip and the upcoming clips, we'll see how they are responsible for anything on the perimeter. The rest of the zone is defined by their ability to pack the paint and make plays there, while the top of the zone has the ability to fly around, use that length and athletic ability to close out to corners, just to maneuver their whole side of the floor on the outside and go out and make plays across the floor. The top of the zone is responsible for ball pressure and the perimeter. Now let's look at the wing. First and foremost, these first two clips will show their biggest responsibility. On every wing catch, they have to show. They have to be able to get up to the wing, contest, and get bumped off that spot by the top of the zone. These first two clips show a great example of their responsibility to get up there, get a hand up, and contest shots, and just activate the ball at that point before they're bumped out. Beyond their ability and responsibility to bump and show at the break, their primary role is to clog up the lane. Here, Josh Hart did a great job at shrinking behind Nurkic and being a guy below at the rim to go make a play. Here, Keon Johnson does a great job at loading up the nail behind the blitz. Just overall, the wings are responsible first to contest and contain above the wing before the top gets there, and secondly, and probably most importantly, go and make plays in the paint. And now to talk about the last level of the zone defense is the big man. So he's primarily matched up with the other big man on the opposing team, like here against Anthony Davis, but the primary role of him, whoever it's Nurkic or Eubanks, is to be a rover and shadow the ball. So he'll always find a way to get in front of the ball, block the paint. But here against Miami in this upcoming clip, we'll see he's matched up with Jovic, who is the 5-man for the Miami Heat, and he ends up shrinking off to be a shadow man running the lane, being somebody in the paint, just finding a way to always impact on the interior. He ended up matched up with the cutter. Jovic cut, and he's there. He's able to make a play in the paint. This clip here against Houston, we'll just see Eubanks floating at the nail. He's running the lane line. He's just ready to make a play. Regardless they didn't right there, his presence made it hard to drive. In this last clip, Nurkic does a great job. He is matched up with Ayton, but he is roving the paint, being somewhere where it makes it difficult for driving angles to happen. He cuts off bridges. He's there for the contest, and then he stays strong side. He's a constant rover and helper within the zone. So now we have a few clips to show what they do while in their zone against ball screens. Primarily, they like icing them with the 5-man being that floater, rover, shadower, whatever you want to call him. And it makes things tough because it's an easy flow into, and it looks like their man principles. The weak side wing will drop in. The top side guy will zone up between the two on the weak side. They just do a good job at loading up that backside while also icing the ball, making things tough for the ball handler to go make plays. If things are set in different areas of the floor, you'll see more switches and less with the 5-man involved, keeping the 5-man low, clogging the paint, and just switches on the perimeter, keeping it easy and consistent. Here, the low man was able to pick up because it's below the break, so the wing got him, and it turned into an over and drop. Things above the break tend to be iced or downed, while below the break, over and drop. It just completely depends on the situation, but at the end of the day, this zone does a really good job at being communicative and connected in ball screens to make things difficult regardless of who is setting the screen and where it is set. I just wanted to show a couple complete possessions of the zone to wrap up this video. So you'll see the top of the zone does a great job at applying pressure, being in that tandem, while the bottom of the zone does a good job at bumping the 45, then staying low, protecting the paint, and the big does a great job shadowing, ending up forcing a 3 there against the Lakers. Here against Denver, we'll see an awesome example of that tandem between Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's sinking back because of the ball pressure that's applied, while Nurkic is in a spot sunk back and protecting the paint, making things tough, forcing a tough 3. Here we'll see that switch on the initial handoff. Everybody's activating the ball, and behind the zone, it's paint priority. Activate the point, take pride in pressuring the point, and everybody else sink back, protect the paint, and make plays there. Be able to close out, be effective in that one-on-one game, and contain. That was a great possession versus Sacramento. Here against the Suns, that ball pressure tandem is doing a great job, and then the backside is really taking priority and sinking in. There was action, so the weak side wing had to come up a little bit, but just the connectivity, the action, the ability to make things really tough for an offense, forcing tough shots. This zone has been a huge part of their success in the early season, and their ability to be connected at every level of the zone, whether the top, wing, and big. They just did a great job at connecting and forcing offenses into really tough looks. Chauncey Billups has this group in Portland rolling, and a huge part of their success has been at the defensive end of the floor, and I'm a big believer in this zone. Whether the numbers say it or not, I think that they are highly connected. They have the personnel to do it with their length and athleticism, and I think that the more that they do it, the more connected they'll be, and it'll just be harder and harder to get good shot opportunities against it. So I hope you guys learned something about their 2-3 zone. For more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you in the next one.